Hi everyone, welcome to my review of the Nicolas Refn's Only God Forgives in 2013. Now, this is Refn's 9th film, and I've been reviewing his films on my channel. I've been doing like a director series of Refn, and I said before, when he's on form, he's a great director for sure. He has done some bad films, and Fear X, I thought that was really bad, and Valhalla Rising as well. And I didn't think any of them would be worse. Any of the other films would be worse than them, too. And yes, this is a film that I saw back in May, late May, because I went on a Refn sort of series over the course of May and June, really. And I've been slowly reviewing them in order, and we'll do a ranking at the end, of course. But yes, Only God Forgives. It's the one that is the least acclaimed, actually, if you take everything into account. So I didn't have the highest of hopes, but some of the pictures and stuff, they did look kind of intriguing. And Ryan Gosling, one of my favourite modern actors, I did watch a couple of scenes beforehand, and I knew that there was meant to be a torture scene in the film that was, I didn't quite watch it all, but I did skim it, and I was thinking, oh great, it's not going to be good. Because sometimes Refn can be, a director who really does not do violence well, and in the sense that it's like in Valhalla Rising and stuff, it's very soulless actually, and it's just pointless, and for the violence for the sake of violence, gratuitous. Yes, and I didn't have high hopes for this film, but really, worse than I could have imagined, and I know, there are some defenders out there, and that's fine, of course. Everyone has their own opinions and stuff. But actually, it's the only Refn film that completely offended me. And, it took a couple of days, actually, for me to kind of sort of calm down in the way that I felt about Refn, with this film. And that's when you have to... I felt offended, and I'm very... I'm so passionate about film and everything that sometimes things can get to me when they're like this, when they have no soul, and when there's things like torture scenes and stuff done in a way that is absolutely disgraceful. It should never have been put in this film, and just a lazy excuse for a film for me. Only God Forgives. I watched it on Blu-ray. Now I'll give you the things that I can praise about it first. The cinematography, in places, the use of colours and everything, yes, very nice visuals. The lighting is at times really, really great. The use of colours, red and blues in particular, and that sort of the pinks and as well, the pinks of the colour spectrum. Yes, I have to praise that. It is very, very eye-popping, and some of the lighting is really good, but I can't really praise the editing in that sense, because it's just it's actually poorly edited for me. There are a lot of scenes that are just put together in very, very confusing and just cheap ways, and also the zooms and everything, the slow motion and everything is just awful. Now, this film, I'm not really going to explain anything about the plot, because it's kind of non-existent for me. Ryan Gosling, his brother gets killed, and it's to do with this police lieutenant, this corrupt guy, and he's the main villain of the film, and then basically the rest of the film is Ryan Gosling basically trying to get revenge on him, and things happen along the way, but yes, that's the plot. That really is the plot, and his mother returns as well. She's in the film, it's just a shocking film. That's the plot. What happens throughout the film is basically some of the most offensive uses of violence and torture in particular that I've ever seen. You've got no characters in this film, I wouldn't say, for me personally. I don't feel the characters. The writing in this film is atrocious. They're so one-dimensional. The mother in particular. There's so much offensive stuff and just sicko. It's just the script in this film is so offensive and so just and it makes no sense, you know, and it's just people saying vulgar stuff for the sake of it. You know, there's no real meaningful character development, no exposition that's meaningful, and it's paced poorly, awful. The editing is atrocious in this film. There's just, and you know, along the way of this revenge story, Ryan Gosling is basically another mute character, you know, like One Eye. He does say some stuff, but generally, Ryan Gosling gives his worst performance for me. I've never actually seen a performance where he's bad, really, and this is the one that is. He's told to just be bland, you know, just go through, and it's just this film has no soul, really. It has no heart, in my opinion, and he's just told to go through and act, you know, really just serious, not really say much, and there's no humanity in his character at all. I hate him as a protagonist. This character, you know, Julian, I think it was, and you know, along the way, it's just so it's vulgar as well. Some of the stuff, the sex stuff going on as well. You know, the sex, the violence, and everything is just handled so poorly. It's so offensive and so so poor. You know, so poorly made. And the direction is poor in my opinion. And you know, just the torture scene. I was really angry at that scene. You know. And it's just to try and be as shocking and as disgusting as you can be. The eye gouge. There's an eye gouge scene in this film, and I couldn't imagine a more poorly handled scene in that sense. It's just disgusting. You know, I know this is a film a bit more experimental, and Refn, you know, I don't see how he would deliberately try and make a film with no soul. But the end result, it has no soul. It's lifeless. It made me feel sick and empty after watching it, and you know, that torture scene in particular. It's rare for me to be as angry at a film as that. You know, when I was watching that scene, it was so pointless. There was no point in doing that, and it was just a shock. And it's so disgusting. It's so soulless. It's so inhuman that I could not believe it actually. And you know, just the way that the guy's screaming, no one's reacting. You know, sometimes in scenes where it's torture and stuff, there's some sort of humanity, or you know, you're meant to feel as an audience, as a viewer, something for it, and you know, feel that it's bad, but no one is there to ground it, to make it feel like no one reacts like, oh, what a shame in that, you know, in that sense. It's just everyone's a mannequins in this film, and there's no ever a sense that you're meant to feel, you know, in that way. It's there and it's disgusting, but it's like it's in every. It's like it's a normal thing. It seems like this is portrayed as the violence in this film. There's nothing to kind of bring humanity to it, or anything. And it's just so offensive. You know, I just couldn't. I felt like throwing up throughout this film. You know, the grotesque lines of dialogue by you know, the mother. It's just so offensive. You know, it's just so pointless. It's laughable, really. Some of the stuff. You know, it's just like a kid has written the script and you know, trying to make it disgusting and vulgar, and you know, just, or you know, all the swear words and everything. It's so bad. You know, the script, I feel personally. The sound design is a bit heavy-handed as well. You know, and this film just goes on and on with scenes that are just pointless. There's no narrative. I didn't ever connected to any of the characters. You know, that's one of the main things. There's no characters in this film. They're all mannequins, and they're all just a product of Refn just seeing how vulgar characters can be and how, you know, unlikable. I don't know what he's trying to achieve here with this film. Yeah, this film just, you know, the themes he's trying to explore, obviously revenge, legacy. You know, there's just some prostitution and drug trade stuff in there, and you know, corrupt cops and everything. But really, it's explored in such a way that it's just pointless. And for me, I do think it's a pointless film. People can find meaning in it, that's fine. And you know, if you like it, you know, that's fine. I just didn't. I didn't connect with any of it. You know, all I can praise really is there was maybe a minute towards the end that wasn't quite bad. It was okay. You know, the actual final sort of act, you know, the way that some of it plays out. But really, it was just involved, you know, it was to do with the tension, the actual tension in itself. None of it was actually, you know, I didn't feel anything, the stakes for that scene either. it was just, yeah, it's kind of tense in itself if you judge it objectively, and throughout the cinematography. It's not. I don't think it's anything special with the cinematography. I don't think it's like Drive or Bronson or anything like that. And because there's no characters to relate to things that are going on, there's a lot of flaws as well in cinematography and as well the editing and stuff. It's not well edited at all. It really is poorly edited. But the cinematography itself, the colours and everything like that, there's things to praise in there. I don't think it's great, but I do think there's stuff to praise. And yes, that a couple, maybe a minute or two towards the end, it isn't awful. That's it as far as praise goes. The rest of the film is awful. At times, it's a bit unwatchable. I just think, to wrap up, this is Refn's worst film for me, and it's not a popular film. Of course, though, it's fine. If you find things in it, I don't think I'll rewatch it ever again, because it just as a film I know I hate, and I know it's a film I know it makes me feel sick, and it's so offensive and stuff, and it's so lifeless for me. I feel that there's no characters at all. Characters that are there, they're not characters, in that sense. They're so offensive as well. There's no humanity to the film. There's no interesting narrative. There's no good parts of the script. It's all just awful, really. Laughable script. But yeah, Refn's worst script as well. The direction is poor. The editing is poor. It's just really some of the colours and the lighting and stuff. There's, even one of the ending, the actual confrontation between the lieutenant and Ryan Gosling's character of Julian. Even that isn't well put together, I didn't think. I know someone that said it was good, and I disagree. I didn't personally find that the fight scene was very well put together, and it was just, again, the film overall just lacks so much. There's no humanity in the film. And yeah, it's got style, definitely, but at times, but there's nothing. It's so empty. I feel it's so empty, and it goes further though. It offends me so much, and it makes me feel sick. Just how offensive this film is, and how little humanity there is in the film. It was so boring for me. I guess I couldn't connect to anything. I wasn't compelled by anything. It was just shocking at times, and it kind of made me, just keep my attention in that sense. But, I hated this film with a passion. Unfortunately, because I did maybe think I might have found some stuff in it more than I did. But really, it's just in terms of some cinematography, really, that I can praise. Only God Forgives. Taking everything into account, a 15%. It's a soulless film, in my opinion. It's got no humanity. It's offensive, boring. There's nothing that compels me, really. Apart, the cinematography in that, it's quite nice and stuff at times. The lighting, the colours. At times, some of the camera movements, but as far as that's as far as it goes in terms of things to praise. The editing even is poor. This film's not well put together, and there's just so many pointless scenes, so many scenes that are so bad, poorly written and everything. I'll never like this film. It's fine, of course, if you do, that's great. I always try to find stuff in Refn films as well, and because I've got respect for him for making films like Drive, Bronson, Pusher Trilogy, and actually the Neon Demon. We'll get to that. I'll be reviewing that next. A more positive review, actually. I didn't have high hopes for that either, but no, it did surprise me actually. This film, Neon Demon, and there's a lot of flaws with it, but I'll get to that. I'll review that. But really, I always try and find something in Refn films. Couldn't find anything really in this, and it really offended me, and I just thought it was an awful film. Personally, yes. So, thanks for watching my review of Only God Forgives.